Hello, racing fans, and welcome back to a Race in Review. We are a little bit late for this episode, but nevertheless, we'll talk the Saudi Grand Prix and we will predict and talk liveries of the Miami Grand Prix. My name is John, I'll be your host today, and I'm joined by the man with the best hair in the business. It's none other than Mr. James Hazel. Hi, James.
Hello. How's it going?
Quite busy.
Yeah, you and me both by the sounds of it. Yeah, you more than me, but yeah, it's hectic. That's why we're so late. Busy schedules.
Travel
Hard to
sounds
get.
fun, but yeah.
Yeah.
Talk about travel. Next year we'll be recording in the sun.
I hope so. Yeah, can't wait.
Yeah, so we'll be going to Crete for another event late next week, which means, if I'm not mistaken, we have one race which we'll be watching somewhere in a bar in Crete, right?
Oh, that'd be glorious. I haven't actually looked at the schedule for it, so.
Yeah, I think we'll be looking at the practice sessions of Emilia Romagna.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Maybe we'll do it. It's like a short show. We'll see.
Yeah.
James, Saudi Grand Prix has been more than a week ago, unfortunately, but the Miami Grand Prix is right in front of us. Shall I try to recap the Saudi Grand Prix in a minute or so?
Yeah, let's go for it. Yeah.
I'll try. Okay.
Right.
I managed last time, so that's good. Here we go. So, Saudi Grand Prix, Oscar Piastri stole the show on the Jeddah Light, securing his third win of the season and snatching the Drivers' Champions lead, making him the first Aussie to do so since his own manager, Mark Webber. Talk about keeping it in the family. But the drama started immediately. Piastri and pole sitter Verstappen went full elbows out in turn one. Max cut the corner, Piastri cried foul, and the stewards handed Verstappen a 5-second penalty. That proved costly. While the McLaren ace drove a composed and confident race, his teammate Lando Norris played the long game after a P10 start, running deep on hards. For a brief moment, Norris even led the Grand Prix, but strategy and clean air ended the race back to Piastri, who managed traffic and pressure like a champ. Behind him, Charles Leclerc kept his nose clean and pulled a slick move on Russell to grab his first podium of the season. Norris settled for P4 after a late charge and a brief brush with pit lane rules. No penalty in the end, so McLaren could breathe again. Mercedes had both cars in the top six, Russell in fifth, rookie Antonelli in sixth, while Hamilton, flying a little under the radar, finished seventh for Ferrari. Yep, Ferrari still not you saying that though. Williams got the party started too with Sainz in 8th and Albon in 9th, both holding off a charging Isaac Hadjar, who had to settle for the final point in P10 and proven to be some rookie. Well, James, I got so much more about this one, including Tsunoda and Gasly both being out, a penalty for Lawson again. Alonso once again finishing outside the points of P11, and the Aston Martin curse continues. I got one more for the footnotes, though. George Russell escaped the penalty. But hey, mate.
Yeah.
That wasn't a boring race.
It was a great race. The turn one incident, in some ways it added to the drama, obviously, because, you've got an incident that's slightly controversial in some ways, I suppose. Or at least it could be controversial depending on, which side of the fence you're on that one. So yeah, it kind of added some fuel and also took away a bit of fuel from the race in some ways, because I think Max could have won that race without the penalty, obviously. I mean, he finished 2.8 seconds behind and he had a 5-second penalty. So if he'd pitted without the 5 seconds, he'd have led the race, he'd have had the clean air, he probably would have won it. But then it still felt like a close fight, even with the 5-second penalty between Oscar and Max, kind of exchanging fastest sectors, and it just felt like Oscar was under a lot of pressure. And if you think about Max being in Oscar's position, you wouldn't expect Max to make a mistake under pressure, but with Oscar being the lead car, you kind of, or at least I was kind of on the edge of my seat a little bit, thinking, is he gonna crack? Is it because he's got Max breathing down his throat or breathing down his neck? Is he on? Is he gonna, gonna get him? Gonna catch up to him? And is Oscar gonna make a mistake? But yeah, Oscar's race was just absolutely phenomenal. And also a shout out to what you already mentioned, Hadjar. He's fantastic.
Really
Really
impressive.
rating this guy at the moment. He's just been on it from the start of the season. Well, apart from the turn one warm up lap incident in Australia, but also Kimi Antonelli. He's really settling into that Mercedes seat very well, very quickly, and better than I was anticipating, to be honest.
Yeah,
So yeah, great race. Really, really fun race to watch.
definitely. Yeah, unfortunately that turn one incident. I don't want to necessarily talk about if it's fair or not fair. I mean, I do think it's fair. Let's put it there.
Yeah.
But I do want to talk about the fact you can't talk about it for a second.
Oh yeah, that's a massive problem. I mean,
So
in fairness, I suppose some sports do this. Like I follow the NBA somewhat, and I know if you talk crap about a referee or a call, you get a fine. You can't necessarily question the refs, and you can't badmouth them. But you are allowed to talk about decisions to some extent. Uh, but the kind of clampdown that is happening in Formula One is worse than that because they just can't talk about it at all. I mean, you pointed out to me, John, there was a clip of Mohammed going straight over to Max when he's on
not a,
the
he didn't
on the
even got his helmet off yet.
yeah, before at the end of the race, the cars basically the top three formed up on the track to um, take their helmets off and start with the post race celebrations before going up to the podium. Um, and MBS was straight over to Max like a rocket and having a conversation with him before Max has even got his helmet off. Um, and then when Max does get interviewed, he barely gives an interview because really he can't because he's doesn't want to or not allowed to. Well, maybe he does want to, but he's definitely not allowed to talk about it, and that's just ridiculous.
Yeah,
And I think Max did the right thing by not really giving an interview, not really doing anything on the podium, and then in the post, like the press pen interviews, not really saying a lot there either.
nope.
Um, so
So
yeah,
as a fan, I think interviews are important. It's nice to see them, but I think sometimes they go a little bit too far. I really hated the fact they were like right on Max, and his interview after the race was like, "I don't want to comment on this. I'm done." And then he gave away his microphone. I want to thank you. I want to thank the fans, and then he was gone. Right. And I
yeah.
was watching. I like, oh Max. Well, even as a fan, that felt a bit harsh, right? I mean, sore loser was the first thing that came onto my mind, if I'm honest. Then
Yeah,
an
a
hour
little bit
later,
because without the background,
yeah,
you don't really know, do you? And you just think, oh,
even I was like, I'm a fan, but this was felt a little bit pity, honestly. Then an
yeah,
hour later, I got sent that video where you see MBS right on top of him, talking about can't really say something or something. Then I was like, okay, well done, Max. Now professional answers. This was good. And I didn't like the fact this is a heavy race, right? This is a warm, no, not even warm. This is a ridiculously hot track. It
oh, it
is
is. Yeah, it's
52 or 53 laps of pure qualifying rounds most of the time.
yeah,
It's a dangerous track, so you got to be focused all the time.
exactly. Yeah,
And then straight out of that, you get told this. I would be done with that as well. Also, Leclerc drove an amazing race, stepped
he
out of
did.
the car and got a camera slammed in his face, like maybe 10 inches from his face.
Oh,
While,
while he was drinking his bottle of
whilst,
water.
exactly, come on. Like you can,
Yeah, that was like,
yeah,
come
it's a
on.
bit,
Yeah,
it's a tad much, eh?
yeah, yeah. It was a bit.
And I'm like, okay, guys, these aren't school kids. You get like these are professional. These guys are why we look in the sports.
Hmm.
If you want to make them brain dead or very uncomfortable, that's just going to be awkward. And it made me not watch the podium ceremony at all. I was like, yeah, okay, good for the day. Bye bye.
Yeah, I didn't actually see it live. I saw some footage of it afterwards because I mean I'm very quite often when it gets to the end of the race, I'm kind of turning it off quite quickly. I watch maybe the post race interview. Sometimes I don't even catch that, and then I catch up with all that later on because it doesn't feel like something you need to watch live. Um, so I missed that as well. But yeah, knowing the context and seeing it, it felt right.
Yeah, really. And they did confirm it's also, they changed a lot of rules over the summer, apparently, which weren't communicated with the fans either. And it's such a hard sport to follow sometimes, James. And
Oh,
we're
it is.
we're looking very hard into this. And I was checking the rules about the actual incident at lap one, right? Apparently that's changed, but they changed it over the summer and they did not publish the new rules yet. They did this Wednesday, 1.5 weeks later after the race.
Yeah.
I even get Max's frustration about the penalty now because it's changed. I'm not gonna go. We'll take a deep dive later, I think. But it's like the drivers know they got briefed on something, but as a viewer, you don't even know that. How can you then form an opinion about something? Or
That is a problem because there are things race to race that can not necessarily massively change, but the drivers will be given information in a briefing that's maybe a track specific thing, like like
white
I don't
lines
know,
can't cross the pit entrance on Jeddah
yeah,
was also
or,
one of them.
yeah, the pit entrance is one of them, and things to do with how they're going to judge overtakes on a corner and stuff like that, and we don't really hear any of that. So then that's what leads to some of these potential like Twitter arguments, as I think of them, because that's where it generally happens. I suppose is that people start having back and forths
It
and
sounds like
arguments
we're
about.
going on Twitter together and then argue there, which is
Well, people just start arguing over the rules, but when the rules, but the problem is that the rules aren't clear to the viewers, and it's not just the rules as they are written. It's what the drivers are also told to expect
yeah.
at any given race. Um, I thought immediately that Max's penalty was going to be fair, or that he was even going to get penalty,
Me too. Don't get me wrong.
because it felt like they were still playing the old first to the apex thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I thought, well, Max is trying to get first to the apex, but he's not doing it in a way to actually then also make the corner. He's just carrying enough speed to be first to the apex. And then if he doesn't make the corner, it doesn't matter because he's already first to the apex or whatever. Which I know that was one of the things they were clamping down on. You've got to be able to make the corner. So Max was always going to get a penalty for that, but I don't even think he was really first to the apex based on Piastri's on board. It looked like Piastri pipped it to that. If at worst, it was side by side. Um,
Apparently, one of
but
the rules says you have to keep a guard width to each other. So Piastri basically making that corner had to turn left and didn't give enough space to Max to go out. That was what the briefing said. That was what the
right,
rule was, and that's why Max was angry. That's why if you look at the rules as we knew him, I totally on board with you. But I definitely get if this was told, I get why Max was angry about him not getting enough space
yeah,
because he couldn't actually turn in. There wasn't space to go with it.
no, but he couldn't have turned in anyway because of the speed he was carrying.
And I think that's the issue here. But that's
He
always
was,
the issue at turn one Jeddah.
yeah,
And that's why I mean, a discussion about if we find it fair or not, I don't think even it matters. And I'm not even against the penalty. Don't even get me wrong there, right? The fact that there's no transparency about the rules, the fact the rules get published this Wednesday after race 5,
yeah,
and the fact they get told not to talk about it afterwards. Like Max came on the radio and they said to him, "Don't talk about it."
yeah,
They were already told during the race not to talk about it.
yeah.
And I found that so well. Also,
It's
the other
yeah.
thing he said, this is, I think he said bloody ridiculous or bloody brilliant, something
And
like that.
they beeped out bloody. Yeah,
Yeah, and they beeped out bloody, making it seem like he did something far
said
worse.
something even worse. Yeah, yeah.
I was like, come on, man.
Yeah, I mean they did the same to Lewis and
Yeah,
Ferrari and Charles. Was that China or somewhere?
it's
I
not
think it.
Netflix. We're watching here. Yeah,
Yeah, they are trying to dramatize things, and I don't like that either because it doesn't need drama. It's a sport. Sport naturally creates some drama, um, and at the end of the day, this drama doesn't. All it does is cause fans. I suppose it's engagement, and any engagement is still engagement, but it just causes arguments between the fans, and that's what's starting to ruin Formula One for me a little bit. Is that the fan base is becoming more and more fragmented into effectively like sides or camps that all hate each other, um, and it's getting a bit frustrating to engage in Formula One in any other way than just watching it,
or
and then
talking
us
about it
doing
on
this
podcast.
podcast and chatting about it. I suppose on the Discord with well, for your other
Yeah.
venture.
Mm.
But chatting about it on there with some people on there that are Formula One fans because it's all very civil and cordial. I would never go on to Facebook, Twitter, anything like that to try and talk about Formula One because it's just mudslinging, and I'm not really into that. So, um,
Nah, but
but that's
it's. I mean, we always have Ferrari to have a shared laugh about, but anything
yeah.
else is just frustrating,
I
isn't
think
it?
a little bit of gentle poking fun is fine, but when people like when have we ever called each other's favorite driver a crybaby or anything like that?
Never.
Like we don't
I
do
mean,
that.
yeah.
Um, and that's the sort of petty stuff that you see on social media, and really like the point of this, it's all been caused and generated by the way Formula One is presenting the sport to the public, and giving them snippets of information to then fill in the blanks, um, like with the bleeping out of words, which I suppose in some ways bloody maybe some places might want that bleeping out. I don't
But you
know,
could
but
say B and then show all the marks at the.
yeah,
But
well, exactly.
they,
Because
uh,
the assumption with Max is that he uses the F word because
yeah.
he does use the F word quite a lot, but he didn't use that there, and that completely changes the context of what he was saying. I think it certainly tones it right down, um, more so than a beep does. So yeah, it's just
It's annoying.
frustrating.
Let's cut off this topic, shall we?
Yep, yep,
We find it annoying, and something's gotta give because it's getting out of hand.
yes,
James, what's also getting out of hand? I mean, there's no point discussing Jeddah too much now anymore afterwards, I guess.
yeah.
But what's also getting out of hand, maybe, is the special merchandise and the special liveries for tracks.
Coming up for Miami. Well, I mean, this is the
It's
race
always
where
in
they
Miami, but
charged.
it's also Japan. Japan has a couple of
Well, yeah,
special liveries. And
yeah,
Jeddah, I mean, it's every race. If you're a fan, you can get a new T-shirt or a new cap every 2 weeks if you want to
and
keep up.
that's what they want because
It's all right, except that they're like $70 a piece these days.
yeah, it's all about the money. Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of commercialization happening in Formula One. There's always has been, but it's yeah, the special liveries, the special caps, the special T-shirts. All of this is. I mean, I don't
Special
buy them.
helmets, I sort of don't mind, but the recognition about helmets, I think if you talk about Senna, this is the helmet. Talk
Yeah,
about Max Verstappen, basically know how the helmet looks. If you look about Lewis, he has a yellow helmet. But these days, they were half of the time they were different color helmets,
yeah.
which makes it
Uh,
really hard to recognize people for
it
me at
does.
least.
This was a. I feel like not Max. Sorry, I feel like Seb Vettel kind of started this really when in his Red Bull days because there was a point where he was changing his helmet basically every race, special edition
Yeah.
for wherever. And then at one point, it was in the rules that they could only have like 1 or 2 special helmets per year to clamp down on that for this reason you are giving, and that is that it becomes difficult to recognise the drivers by their helmets when they don't actually have a helmet that they wear for the majority of the year because they're constantly wearing special edition helmets. I don't mind that as much because it's not like anyone. Well, I suppose you can get those like mini helmets, can't you? I don't know how many of the special editions and stuff they release. I'm assuming they do because that's just money.
Yeah, I know
But
for Max, I was at the Max Stop event store a couple of weeks ago,
yeah,
and there's at least 20 different helmets you can buy.
yeah,
And they're pretty costly as well, and about
but,
this big.
yeah. But you can't. It's not like you can do anything with one of those other than display it at home or somewhere or your office or whatever. But with a T-shirt or a cap or something, you can wear that out and about or wherever and make more use of it. So I think with the T-shirts and stuff, and it's a little bit. Well, not necessarily. I don't know the right word to use. It's not frustrating because it doesn't affect me, but it's like it just feels a bit more egregious, I suppose, that they're kind of doing this. I don't know if that's even the right word either, but like
Yeah,
it
and
just feels a bit kind of trying to milk the fan base.
maybe that's what I'm like. What's bugging me about is a couple of and also some of the designs are so ugly, it actually degrades the fact that they have a new thing. I don't want to
Well,
say something bad about Mercedes, but the jerseys they are wearing this weekend for Miami, I my daughter could design a better one for them.
uh,
They won. It's
well, this is about to back up what I was about to say anyway, and that because when you said about ugly, I was about to say, well, that's
no,
subjective.
no,
Because I actually like them. I actually like the Mercedes ones, so there'll be other people that like it as well.
yeah. But I mean,
So
it's fair enough. But okay, something you can't discuss, like you can't have an argument about, are the two liveries that get presented this week. And if you're watching the Spotify or the YouTube version of this podcast, you should be able to actually see it. I'm going to put one on screen, James.
all right, cool.
I am going to put on screen the new Racing Bulls one for this weekend.
Yes.
And if this works correctly, you should now see the Racing Bull next to your beautiful face and my face. It is very pink, but so is the
Yeah.
new. It sounds like a commercial, but so is the new Red Bull Summer Edition can. So they actually remembered they sell like energy drinks.
Mm-hmm.
And not only that, it looks absolutely stunning. It has silver in it. But
Yeah.
talk about details. The rims, James, the wheel covers are energy cans lids. It is
I
this.
hadn't noticed that. I hadn't looked at it too closely yet. I was trying to figure out what that little bit of pink was on the more distant shot, and I thought it was
Yes.
just going to be the bull logo.
No.
But now you can see, yeah, it's the ring pull. Yeah.
This is how you do special livery, James. If these, I don't mind.
Yeah, it is pretty cool. It reminds me. Do you remember? I think it was Red Bull that did it as well. Do you remember they did that Star Wars one once at
Yes, was Red Bull as well. Yeah, at
Monaco? Yeah, and all the pit crew were wearing Star Wars themed helmets and stuff.
Yeah.
That was awesome. Yeah, I like stuff like that. I mean, and this one, like you say, it's more around their product, and that makes more sense. So, like, I mean, we kind of had one last year, but it didn't really make too much sense and wasn't super obvious. But there was the Indiana Jones livery for the game,
which nobody could think about what was this livery all about because it was done
yeah,
so poorly. You had to
yeah.
zoom in to see it was Indiana Jones, but the
But
idea was cool.
as a
The
concept,
Wolverine and the Deadpool
Wolverine,
one
Deadpool
was
helmets, yeah.
those
As
were
a
nice.
concept, I like that because that's kind of it's promoting something, and it feels like there's a reason for it. And I suppose Red Bull and Honda doing a livery at
Japan makes sense.
Japan makes sense for Honda.
Haas doing it as well doesn't make sense. But, okay.
Haas not so much, no. And some of the others,
Well, team
not.
principles Japanese, maybe that's what.
Yeah. But some of the others that we've seen in the past, where they just rock
Okay.
up to a race with a one-off livery, doesn't always make sense. I mean, it was uh, Alpine. Was it last year or the year before? They just did like the first three races with a completely different livery to the rest of the season. It was like majority pink,
Yeah.
or it had more
Yeah.
pink or something,
Yeah, they
and it was
switched
like
around. Yeah.
special livery for three races, and then they went back to their default livery. It's like, what? Why? What? What's
That's
the
because
point?
of the sponsor, I think. Yeah.
But
Well, can
uh,
you can objectively say that the Red Bull, the Racing Bull ones this weekend is well done, right? Not
I
a
don't
matter
think
of
you can
taste.
objectively say that.
Ah, yeah, okay.
It's always
99%
stuff like
of
that.
people will say this one is well
Stuff
executed.
like that is always down to
Okay.
excuse me. It's always down to taste and it's subjective. I agree with you. I think it looks really nice
All
and
right.
I think it's well done.
All right.
There
I
will be
wanted to show you
people
another
who
one
don't
though
like it.
for this weekend
The
and say
Ferrari.
I know you're not going to be objective, but I'm going to see if we can subjectively say this one is a little bit different.
Rubbish.
Well, you can't objectively say that, James. But here it
Well,
is. It is the Ferrari
I
HP
subjectively
one. This is
don't
like
like it
it's
that
designed by a toddler. I'm so
it's
sorry.
not great, is it? The only thing I do like is if you could switch to one of the other views, the view from the front. Uh, I quite like that top-down one's actually quite good. Or that one. I actually quite like the uh, asymmetrical rear wing and the fact that it has like that offset of blue and white.
Yeah.
And if you go back to that top-down view, that shows it even better. I think the rear wing actually looks quite nice there.
No, and I agree, but make the whole car white blue if you
The
want a
whole
special
car,
livery.
I mean, Ferrari they just seem to never want to do anything other than red. They
No,
don't
and
want.
I mean, I sort of get that even if they don't do the blue one. I mean, blue still is
I
sort of
don't,
Ferrari.
because if it comes down to merchandise, if you do a one-off yellow or
That would
sky
work.
blue
We had a yellow
Ferrari,
Ferrari, James.
the merchandise for that would just fly off the shelves.
Exactly. But here comes the thing. This one is, and I would almost ask you to please check out the YouTube version, the Spotify video version. But this one is, you know what? Let's start at the back and design a cool one with blue white because of our sponsor. They do
Yeah.
the wing. It's like, that's a pretty cool idea. They'll do the engine covers, and they're like, yeah, we can make this work. And then we're like, oops, we probably can't, or we ran out of time. Let's just hand in your homework, see if we can get a C.
It does feel a little bit like that.
This,
Yeah.
but they have
There's
white suits, James, this weekend as well,
the white suits. I'm sure will look cool. I don't think I've
but
actually
not
seen
in
them
a
yet.
red Ferrari with a blue white. I think it's just horrific. I'm sorry, this one just
Okay.
looks silly.
I don't think it looks great.
I
No,
don't, I don't, I don't, I
uh,
don't even hope they come on the podium this weekend, so I don't have to see the car too much.
I mean, they did the same thing last year, didn't they? They had a
That was
Miami special,
better than
and then
this one.
they just changed the front and rear wing. I mean, they've changed more on this one, I think,
Yeah,
but
blue, blue wheel covers.
it still doesn't look great. I, yeah,
I
I
don't
just
think
don't.
HP will sponsor Ferrari much more. They
I
should go
don't
to
know.
Williams.
I don't know. I think they will, but I don't get excited for a Formula One. Sorry, not Formula One, a Ferrari specifically special livery reveal anymore because they don't really look great. I think the one that actually did look good at one point was it was Monza maybe 2 years ago when they had the black rear wing with the yellow Ferrari and the old font, the Ferrari font. That was a nice one. And then they briefly had that on the default livery until HP
Yeah,
joined. Um,
that was neat.
so yeah, I don't get excited
I got one more
for a
for you this
Ferrari
weekend.
livery anymore.
Kick Sauber has one as well this weekend.
Oh, I haven't
Yeah.
seen this one yet.
So,
So
live
this is
reactions. This is
new
live reaction.
live, yeah, a live
Yeah.
reaction.
So Kick Sauber is normally green cars, you know that, right? With a lot of black
Yeah.
in it. You can guess. We haven't seen it yet, so this could be a really cool topic. Actually, let me do it like this.
This is going to be black with a lot of green in it.
Which color will this car be?
Black and pink. Swap the green for pink. I don't know.
This is the new car. It is. I'll describe it for the audio listeners. It's a black car with green splattered all over it, and there's actually a lot of green paint on the floor because then apparently you can see it's sort of designed that way.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, I mean, it's one way of doing it, right?
If you hadn't told me that you were about to show me a special livery, and then you only allowed me to look at it for 5 seconds, I probably wouldn't have noticed that it was a special livery. As you were closing the window, I'd be like, hang on a second, maybe that looked a bit different. It on track. Sauber is going to look like a Sauber. I think that's it.
The wheel covers are easy to recognize this week for them, though.
I don't get any Miami vibes from this. Why are they doing a Miami livery? And how is this a Miami livery? I don't get.
It's a good thing we do live reactions on these.
Whatever. I just.
This is. I don't know how to design my car. You know what? I'm done with this. Homework? I'm not doing any homework. You take your can with paint, you toss it over your car, and like this will be it for today.
Yeah.
The problem tomorrow is probably stuck on the paint when you take the car off. But no, it's. I mean, it's sort of cool if this would be the standard livery, I suppose. But as a one-off livery, sort of based on it gives me the Red Bull vibes where they're like, we're doing something with red. It's red. You see red paint all week, and then at the end of the week, you see like this riddle red splash over it.
One line down the. Down,
it's like I've been dreaming about a Red Bull for all week, and then you get one splash of red line on the engine cover, and the same as this.
We got a great Red Bull livery in Japan this year, though. So
yeah, and I do collect always the normal Miami Red Bulls with a blue dash on it. That sort of is sort of nice, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, this one doesn't make sense either.
No.
Looking forward. There's one good thing about having a full pink car this weekend, so that my daughters might actually be able to watch the race with me for once.
Oh yeah, your kids will enjoy that, won't they? Yeah. They're like Alpine with the pink on them, don't they? So
yeah. So enough about livery, James. We got to talk about your curse.
the never-ending curse.
Jeddah pole position. You predicted. Do you remember?
The guy who put it in the wall.
Lando Norris. Yes. Yeah. Just saying, the current score is 6-0 for me. 8-0 for me. Sorry, mate. 8-0. That's a big cap. You predicted Lando Norris.
Yeah.
Oh, he pinned it.
Yeah, he did, yeah.
I predicted Charles Leclerc. I did not predict Max Verstappen.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone would have predicted him, honestly.
Well, you certainly wouldn't have done after
Japan.
The previous race, Bahrain, yeah, because
and Bahrain was pretty poor. So yeah,
you thought Red Bull were done for the season after Bahrain.
Yeah, I thought so, honestly. Yeah. It took me 2 weeks to recover from that one. But yeah, no points for us. You said Norris will win the race.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for you, I said Piastri will win the race.
Yeah.
Makes it 0-9.
Yeah.
And James, you said the first DNF will be Lawson. Mm-hmm. I said the first. You said Lewin. Sorry, I said Lawson. It was Yuki Tsunoda and Gasly.
Yeah.
So first DNF for Red Bull.
That's unfortunate for them too. Yuki was looking.
It was a very bold move, maybe silly move from Gasly. Honestly,
it was a little bit
outside turn one. Wait, nah.
It was opportunistic, but
that's one way of talking. Yeah,
kind of stupidly so.
Yeah. That will never fit there.
No, it was. What was it? It was turn 3, was it? Where that happened? Turn 3 and 4, and it's a little bit too fast there. I could sort of see it on the first lap when they're all bunched together, but really, there's only one line through there, and if you stick it around the outside, you're putting a lot of faith in the car on the inside to have actually realised that you've done that, and for them to give you space going into the next corner, which Yuki sort of half did, but not quite enough. And then racing incident, but it was a bit silly by Gasly. I think he was overly eager to make some moves on the first lap
Yeah,
and get track position.
so was Lawson. He was overly eager to do anything, prove himself, but he had a poor race.
Yeah, yeah. I don't want to keep repeating myself every podcast, but I just don't see his F1 career lasting
Oh, I
too
said
long
so
unless
about
he turns
Checo,
it
and he's
around.
coming back next year, apparently. So
Well, potentially, yeah. But Checo's got a lot of money behind him, hasn't he?
yeah, that is fair.
Teams will take him just for that. If it wasn't going to be Cadillac, I'm sure one of the other teams might have taken him on this year. Next year. I think the only reason he didn't get a seat for this year is because there were basically no more seats left anyway. By the time he was
No,
dropped,
no,
so because
no, that's actually a fair
he
point.
was already he was at the time safe. He had a seat for this year.
Yeah, that is true.
So
So 09, we're going to Miami.
yes.
Shall I introduce a rule? I can't say the same thing as you do, and you can just start.
No, it's my turn to go first this time. You went first last time, so we don't need to not say the same thing.
Okay. So who's gonna be the full? Do you want to add the sprint race winner this weekend? Maybe.
No, let's not do that.
Okay. Who's gonna take pole position for the actual race?
Well, the last 3 years it's been between Max and Norris, and I'm going to say Norris.
I'm gonna say Max. Then
Piastri is on fantastic form, has a very good chance. I'm just going to say Norris, and I'm sure
it's that Ferrari hopium which gets into your system, makes you say things like this. I think
it is. Yeah, it's like, well, the broken clock is right twice a year, twice a day. So I've got to get it.
Fair point. Fair point.
Yeah.
Who's gonna win it?
I'm going to say Norris again. Just Norris for pole and the win for me.
Okay, I hope Norris will win. I'm hoping not to win for Piastri, not because I don't like Piastri, but I would keep it very close together if he doesn't win.
It would be interesting for the championship as well, yeah.
So I'm going to say Max wins.
Oh, okay. I think he's got a good chance.
I don't know, but that Red Bull didn't seem that bad, honestly.
In Jeddah, it will look fantastic, and it had the pace. I mean, it got
Tires
pole
lasted
position.
as well, pole position.
Tires lasted okay. It had the pace to win the race. The downfall was that penalty, and yeah,
And a good pit stop, and Lewis held back Max, and he didn't want to let Piastri go, but Piastri had an awesome overtake on Lewis, and that's where he won the race.
that was critical. That was, yeah. Well, I did actually want to talk about that, but I kind of overlooked it. But we're running out of time for today anyway. But shout out to Piastri for that overtake. That was overtake of the season so far for me. I know there was a massive difference in tyre degradation and all the rest of it, but still, he put it around the outside on a fast corner. There was dirty side of the track. There's risk of losing grip. There's risk of puncture. He just went for it. He was told by his
He won the race
crew
on that moment. On that.
to surprise Lewis, basically, because of what Lewis did with Norris,
And with Max.
which was fair play from Lewis.
He fought back on Max as well there. So
yeah. But Piastri just caught Hamilton completely by surprise and made a fantastic overtake. Well played to him.
Yeah, 100%. Was going to be the first DNF?
I forgot we needed to do that. I was thinking we were about to wrap up. We are, but first DNF. I am going to go with Esteban Ocon.
Interesting one.
Well, he hasn't done anything stupid for a while, and he often does something stupid now.
He has been doing. He's been driving pretty good. Not
now and then.
Not even this season, but last year as well.
Now and then, it's like he forgets to have his coffee in the morning, and he has some brain fade, and he just does something stupid.
He's a great driver. I'm not gonna. He showed everyone last year in Brazil. He is still a great driver. He won a race. He's not gonna say anything about that.
I agree. He is a very good driver, but he has a history of doing something silly.
I mean,
either with his teammates or bad defending or whatever. Yeah, that's my reasoning.
He won the Hungaroring on an Alpine. He's correct.
Yeah.
First DNF for me. Oh, I've never got this right, I think, ever. I'm going to say, Piastri.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's going to do it on Norris now in turn 1. Norris not going to back down. They're going to end up hitting each other. Max going to win the race. I get all the predictions right. And Max is back in the World Championship.
If you get all the predictions right this weekend, I just surrender. I give up. You'd be 12-0.
I mean,
well,
yes,
unless Norris does get pole, and then be 12-1, but still.
Well, then I don't have 12 points. I have 11 points. So honestly, we'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see. I'm looking forward to it very much. 9 p.m. on a Sunday evening for the race, though.
I don't mind that.
UK. So
yeah, I don't mind that. It's no, it's not bank. It is a bank holiday. I couldn't remember if it's a bank holiday if I've just got Monday booked off. It's a bank holiday, so I can enjoy the race with a beverage.
It is a bank holiday for us as well, once in 5 years. So this year,
once every 5 years.
Once every 5 years. It's our Liberation Day, because it's so long ago. We celebrate once in 5 years these days.
Oh, right, okay.
So in 25, we get 1 day extra, which as a business holder means one less day to actually get some money in. But nevertheless, I can have a drink on the Formula 1 race Sunday evening, for sure. We will.
Excellent.
Well, I will see you next week as well. But we'll also see if we can make a podcast next week about the Miami Grand Prix.
Yeah, we'll fit something in about Miami. We have to, don't we? So,
but we will. And if you're listening to this or watching this, of course, thank you very much. Leave us a like, subscribe on YouTube. That would mean the world to us. And see you next week, racers. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.